Hello and welcome to this lesson for OCR A-Level Physics in Module 5, the Newtonian World and Astrophysics, in the topic of oscillations and looking at the concept of the simple harmonic oscillator systems. So if we've been successful and we've learned in today's lesson, we should be able to use the equations for simple harmonic motion in different systems, detail the techniques and procedures to determine the time period and frequency of simple harmonic oscillators, and then finally determining the time period and frequency of simple harmonic oscillators. So we are now going to apply our understanding of simple harmonic motion to two different systems, both of which have simple harmonic oscillators. These are the simple pendulum and the mass spring system. So if we consider a spring of natural length L0 which extends by a length x when a mass is suspended from it, when considering the tensile force on the spring, we can say F equals kx, where k is our spring constant or force constant, and this equation is Hooke's law. Now this can be written as T is equal to minus kx, which can then be substituted into Newton's laws of motion. Now we know Newton's second law states that A is equal to F over m, so then we can substitute in the Hooke's law equation into Newton's second law of motion and say A is equal to minus kx over m. Now in this instance k and m are constants, so this shows us that A is directly proportional to negative x. Now these are the conditions for simple harmonic motion, as simple harmonic motion occurs when the acceleration and the negative displacement are directly proportional. So if a mass on a vertical spring undergoes oscillation, it will have an acceleration given by A is equal to minus kx over m. But we're also aware that A is equal to minus omega squared x in simple harmonic motion. So we can equate the two terms and say minus kx over m equals minus omega squared x. So therefore, minus omega squared is equal to minus k over m, so omega is equal to the square root of k over m. Now we also know that omega is equal to 2 pi f, and we also can equate our two angular velocity equations to indicate to us that f is equal to 1 over t. So therefore we can then place the time period equation into the formula and get the square root k over m is equal to 2 pi over t. So therefore we can rearrange it and get our equation for the time period of one oscillation, which is t is equal to 2 pi times by the square root of m over k, which shows us how long it takes for a mass spring to complete one whole cycle. And it also allows you to work out the spring constant of the spring, which is a second way of calculating this value from experimentation. Now please note the only factors in the time period equation are the mass and the spring constant. These are the only factors which affect the time period of an oscillating mass spring. No other factor is found in the equation, so this means no other factor can make a difference to the time period of one oscillation in this example of simple harmonic motion. So we can use the mass spring system equation to work out the spring constant of the spring in the system. Now to do this you must change the mass placed upon the spring and measure the time period of one oscillation of the spring. So if we say time period squared is placed against mass, we will get a straight line through the origin. Now we know t is equal to 2 pi times by the square root of m over k, or t squared is equal to 4 pi squared times by m over k. Now let's consider this as a straight line of best fit, so y equals mx plus c. So in this instance y is equal to t squared, x is equal to m, so therefore the gradient, or m in this case, is equal to 4 pi squared over k. So the gradient of the line of best fit of the graph is 4 pi squared over k. So our spring constant is 4 pi squared over the gradient. Now we can also plot the time period of one oscillation against the amplitude of the oscillation. Now here the time period squared is plotted against amplitude. Now this occurs because the amplitude of the oscillation does not affect the time period of the oscillation, as it's not found in the time period equation. So, the equation for the time period of a mass spring system is given by the following. T is equal to 2 pi times by the square root of m over k, where t is the time period of one oscillation of a mass spring in seconds. M is the mass of the system in kilograms, k is the spring constant of the spring in newtons per meter, and 2 pi are constants. Now the assumptions for this equation are that the spring is an elastic material and there is no dampening action on the oscillator. Any factor not in this equation cannot affect the time period of oscillation for a mass spring system. Now you can change the mass of the mass spring in the investigation, you can measure the time period of one oscillation of a mass spring, and this allows you to derive the spring constant of the spring. Let's now have a look at the simple pendulum. To understand the mathematics of the simple pendulum, we must consider a pendulum bob of mass m on a light string of length L at an angle of theta to the vertical. Now this is considered a simple pendulum. There's a mass on a string of no mass, and there's a small displacement from equilibrium in the horizontal plane of motion. Now, we know there's a resultant restoring force acting towards the equilibrium position on the pendulum. This is the definition of simple harmonic motion. The restoring force always acts towards the equilibrium position. So we know our resultant restoring force is acting in the horizontal plane of motion, as this is the direction the pendulum is accelerating in. Now, the only force acting in the horizontal is the horizontal component of the weight. So this indicates to us the only force acting in the horizontal is the horizontal component of the weight, so it must be providing our resultant restoring force on the pendulum. So the resultant restoring force is the horizontal component of the weight, which is equal to minus mg sine theta. Now this has been found using the resolving components of the vectors found in the mechanics module we looked at previously. Now remember, the force must be a negative as it's acting in the opposite direction to the motion. We can then also use this to calculate the restoring acceleration, which comes from Newton's second law of motion, where F equals ma, so A is equal to F over m. So therefore A is equal to minus g sine theta. So what we know is F is equal to minus mg sine theta and A is equal to minus g sine theta. Now the acceleration is not exactly proportional to theta. However, if theta is less than 10 degrees, then sine theta equals theta when we're measuring in radians, so we can approximate this to A is equal to minus g theta. Now this idea is derived from the small angle approximation, which we've encountered earlier in the module. Now this small angle approximation allows us to consider the displacement of equilibrium to be a straight line. Now also, this proves that motion must be simple harmonic motion, where A is proportional to minus displacement. Now we know that at small angles of displacement, 10 degrees or less, a pendulum is a simple harmonic oscillator. So in investigations, you can only displace a pendulum 10 degrees from equilibrium position and then gain accurate results. Now we can use these ideas to work out the time period of an oscillation for a simple harmonic pendulum. So consider a similar pendulum bob. The tension in the string is T and the displacement from equilibrium position is x. If theta is small, well, we know sine theta is x over L. This is because of small changes in displacement x, we can consider the displacement path to be a straight line and not a curve. So it allows us to use the rules of trigonometry, SOHCAHTOA. Now, we know that the pendulum undergoes oscillation with an acceleration given by A is equal to minus g sine theta, and we've also previously stated the relationship regarding the acceleration of a simple pendulum. It always acts towards the equilibrium position of the cycle. So we can then substitute in the values and say A is equal to minus gx over L. So we know A, as we said before, is minus omega squared x, so we sub that into the equation and we simplify it through to get omega is equal to the square root of g over L. We therefore also know that omega is equal to 2 pi over t, so we substitute that in, and we get t is equal to 2 pi times by the square root of L over g. So we know that from the previous idea, omega is equal to 2 pi over t. Now this gives us our equation for the time period of the pendulum. Now remember, we assume that if theta is less than 20 degrees, then it's accurate to within 1%. Generally, the assumption that a pendulum undergoing simple harmonic motion, which wants to use this equation, should only be made for displacements less than 10 degrees. Now, this also shows the only factors in the time period for a simple pendulum are the length of the string and the gravitational field strength. Nothing else affects the oscillation time period, not even pendulum mass or displacement from equilibrium. So our time period for a pendulum is t is equal to 2 pi times by the square root of L over g, where t is the time period for one oscillation of the pendulum, L is the length of the pendulum in meters, g is our gravitational field strength of the pendulum in newtons per kilogram, and 2 pi is constants. Now the assumptions for this equation are that the amplitude of oscillation is less than 20 degrees, the length of the pendulum is from the fixed position to the centre of mass of the bob, and there is no dampening acting on the oscillator. We term pendulums with these assumptions as simple pendulums. Now any factor not in this equation cannot affect the time period of the oscillation of a simple pendulum. Now you can change the length of a pendulum in an investigation. You can then measure the time period of one oscillation of a pendulum, and this then allows you to determine the gravitational field strength that the pendulum is in. So we can use the simple pendulum equation to work out the gravitational field strength the pendulum is in. Now to do this, you must change the length of the simple pendulum and measure the time period of one oscillation of the pendulum, where t squared is proportional to L. Now for a simple pendulum, we can say t is 2 pi times by the square root of L over g, or t squared is 4 pi squared times by L over g. So as we know, it's a straight line, so y equals mx plus c, y is t squared, x is L, and the gradient is 4 pi squared over g. So the gradient of the line at best fit of this graph is 4 pi squared over g. So the strength of gravity is 4 pi squared over the gradient. So we can also plot the time period of one oscillation against the amplitude of oscillation and have t squared against the amplitude. Now again, remember, the amplitude of oscillation does not affect the time period of oscillation, as it's not found in the time period equation. We could also plot the time period of one oscillation against the mass of the oscillator. Once again, the mass of the pendulum does not affect the time period of oscillation, as it's not found in the time period equation. This means one of the key investigations used to find the gravitational field strength has been to measure the oscillation time period of a simple pendulum. One of the first accurate measurements of the Earth's gravitational field strength was Qatar's pendulum in 1818. And in 1671, Richter worked out that the length of a pendulum with a swing of 1 second was 2.6 millimeters shorter in French Guiana than Paris. So this allowed us to show the Earth was not a perfect sphere with a uniform gravitational field. So this allowed Isaac Newton to work out this was due to the fact the Earth was not a perfect sphere, but slightly oblate. It was thicker at the equator because of the Earth's rotation. So we have used pendulum oscillation period measurements to determine the gravitational field strength. So measurements of a pendulum time period are currently used on the Earth to determine the geology of different regions. The first major example of this was the Geological Survey of India carried out in the late 19th century, and the Foucault pendulum in Paris was produced to derive the gravitational field strength on Earth, and it also shows how the Earth is rotating. Now, areas where the time period is shorter must have a denser rock material than the surrounding areas. Now in the future we could use pendulum oscillation time period measurements to determine the gravitational field strength on newly colonized exoplanets. A simple recording of the time period of a pendulum along with its string length would allow prospective colonists to determine the gravitational field of any astronomical body. Now for both simple pendulum oscillators and mass spring oscillators, you must consider how to reduce the errors and increase the accuracy of the measurements. So you'd measure the time for 10 or more complete oscillations and divide the number to get an average time period. This reduces the effect of the human reaction time on each individual oscillation. You should take at least 3 readings for each setup and calculate the mean to reduce random errors. Use a small amplitude, especially less than 15 degrees for pendulums, to ensure the motion remains simple harmonic. You would place a fiducial marker, a clearly visible reference point, at the equilibrium position of the oscillating object, and this helps you identify the midpoint of the motion accurately when timing or observing oscillations. Now when observing the motion or reading measurements like extension or length, ensure your eye is level with the scale or fiducial marker. The parallax error occurs when the observer's eye is not directly in line with the measurement, leading to inaccurate readings. So fiducial markers help by providing a fixed visual reference. So you can see here how you can get an accurate value of measurement for either the simple pendulum oscillator or the mass spring oscillators. So to summarise, we've looked at the techniques and procedures used to determine the period or frequency of simple harmonic oscillations. Now, if we've been successful and we've learnt in today's lesson, we should be able to use equations for simple harmonic motion in different systems, detail the techniques and procedures to determine the time period and frequency of simple harmonic oscillators, and use the techniques and procedures to determine the time period and frequency of simple harmonic oscillators. So thank you for watching this lesson of the module Newtonian World and Astrophysics of OCR A-Level Physics, looking at the concept of oscillations and looking at the idea of simple harmonic oscillator systems. Thank you so much and have a lovely day.